welcome to a very special episode of Cosmic Road, where we are joined by friend of the channel, John Stewart. Welcome to the show, John.
Hi, Jack. Thank you for having me back. We were talking once a week back before. So nice to hear you. Nice to see you. I'm glad everything's going well. And I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I thought it would be nice to come on to tell this. I know another John Stewart crazy story, but when I saw this story creep out into the internet, the baby Bigfoot story of the Patterson-Gimlin film, I went, is anything secret? Does everything leak out? So I contacted you that, I believe that Rick Doty and I are the progenitor of this story. And what I'm about to tell you and your viewers might seem alarming and shocking. Just know that I am friends with Rick Doty right now and have been for years. But at the time this story happened, I knew of Rick Doty for about 2 weeks. So just keep this in mind. And everything I'm about to tell you is 1000% true.
Have you seen the footage yourself?
I haven't.
Okay.
But I could tell you why that is in the story whenever you want me to.
Yeah, okay.
So
just for viewers who haven't seen the previous video, I did a segment about the Timothy Alberino information. He had a guest on that was talking about this extended cut of the Patterson-Gimlin footage. We all know Patty, right? Bigfoot, the iconic, Bigfoot of all time. And he says there was an extended version of this video where there was a juvenile Bigfoot in the film, as well as potentially two other adult Sasquatches. And he had some other additional information about another separate video about a Bigfoot hunt that may have involved that Bigfoot family, but it's unclear if that is real or not. So I don't know if you have any information about that, but let's go. But okay, so you're saying that this information originates with you guys. So walk us through it. What is this all about?
Absolutely. Again, on my children, this is the 1000% actual story, no matter how crazy and alarming this sounds. And remember, I love Rick Doty. He's a friend of mine. He has been so instrumental in the Victor alien interview investigation. Please remember that as what I'm about to tell you. I am into about 2 weeks of communicating with Rick Doty back in 2021 about anything that he could help me with as far as who's Victor, is the alien interview film real? Can you tell me anything about the program? Is there a program with the government in interviewing extraterrestrials? Now, all I know of Rick Doty is what I saw on Mirage Man, the film, which doesn't really paint him in a flattering picture.
No, it doesn't.
Right. And legit, he is, he's I guess, colloquial English, we call him a spy. He's a special agent with the United States.
Man in Black.
Yeah, he's a special agent. Remember this, folks. Put yourself in my head, my brain. Which is scary. He was a special agent with the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations, stationed out of Kirkland and Area 51. So just remember that. And I did, he was Rick will always be. He is a gentleman. He's very kind. He's very cordial. He was very nice to me in the emails. He was very nice to my wife when she contacted him on Facebook, because I'm not on Facebook. And here we go. About 2 weeks later, I get an email from Rick Doty. I didn't know you were into Bigfoot. And I wrote back and I'm like, how did you know that? And he said, well, after speaking with you, I looked you up on the internet and I saw a couple of Bigfoot articles that you were interested in the phenomenon, and you have went on a couple of podcasts. And I wrote him back. I said, yeah, I don't know what, again, like the alien interview, I don't know what the truth is, but there's too much smoke out there for something just to be something made up for the tabloid newspapers at the grocery store. And he wrote back and he said, I agree. And he said, would you be interested in, and I'm trying to think of the vernacular. He said, with the fact that you've been a wrestling promoter and you're interested in Bigfoot, would you have any interest in possibly selling the footage of the Patterson-Gimlin film? And I said, well, that's probably illegal because I know the wife owns it or a law firm owns it now. There was a real weird legal. And he wrote back and he said, no, I am an intermediator of a person. Listen to me very closely. I am an intermediary helping a person who has the Patterson-Gimlin film, the original, with 6 additional seconds.
Now,
You know,
is this the film that was supposedly won in a poker game or something like that? Because that's one story I heard was the original was
right
won in a poker game. Is
now that's a great point. Let's for all of the skeptics and haters, let's just say, okay, if it's not the original, he's got the film that has 6 extra seconds on it, and it was in the possession of Roger Patterson's wife.
Okay.
So if it ain't the original, it's the cousin, right?
Okay.
And I, Jack, my life has been a movie the past 5 years. So now this spy, this alien agent is, I sit up on my couch. I'm like, what? And he starts to lay it out. He said, have you ever heard of Bruce Maccabee? He was a naval optic physicist with the United States Navy. And I'm thinking in my mind, I know enough about these guys that Doty, Bruce Maccabee, part of the Avery, even though that may be fake, they're friends. They're part of this intelligence group, informally meet once a year, which is true. Whether or not they call themselves by bird names,
yeah,
they laugh at that. But nonetheless, Bruce Maccabee and Rick Doty were in a informal group of former retired intelligence agents, right? I think you would agree to that. Anybody else would in the know would agree to
these
that.
are real people that know some stuff,
right?
Yeah.
So now, my head is spinning, and I keep reading. He said, "quote that Bruce did some financial work for Roger Patterson's daughter and the family, and they didn't have
weird. It's such a small world. It really is.
Is it? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Do you believe this?
That is weird.
So
that is weird.
Goes,
okay. Continuing.
I know. Bruce Maccabee did some kind of. I could have swore, and I was trying to find the email before we went on air. I could have swore was some accounting that he helped them out with, regardless of what Bruce Maccabee, who previously just passed away, by the way, helped out Roger Patterson's wife and daughter. They did not have the ability to pay Bruce's bill or what Bruce was owed. Excuse me. In exchange for the payment of monies for Bruce Maccabee's work for the Patterson family, they handed over the Patterson film. It lays I know everyone's going to be shocked. It lays around Bruce's house for about 20 years. Right? I mean, you would think all of us would run right and buy an 8mm projector and start playing it until Bruce's wife finds it. And Bruce's wife, according to the folklore, says, hey, what is this? And Bruce explains, it's the Patterson-Gimlin copy of a Patterson-Gimlin film. I got it from Roger's wife when I did that work, some umpteen years ago. And Bruce's wife, thank God, says, let's watch it. And of course, Bruce, being a optical physicist, I'm sure had an 8mm projector somewhere in his house or garage. They pull out the 8mm projector and they start watching the film. Bruce gets distracted at the end, and his wife's like, honey, there's something else on this film. And he's like, what? And again, folks, this is third party, but bear with me. She said, I see a baby Bigfoot, and it kind of runs up to the big Bigfoot. And I think there's 2 other adult Bigfoots in the background. Bruce is like, wait, what? So you have this naval optical physicist now looking at the Patterson-Gimlin film. Yes, it's on a 8mm projector, probably on a wall or on a bed sheet, but nonetheless. And Bruce kind of does the holy cow. It looks like a baby Bigfoot gets off of a log, runs up to Patty, and there's allegedly two Bigfoot adults in the background that Patty and the juvenile are walking up to. I mean, do you freaking believe this?
That's wild, man. That is wild.
Is that wild? So I'm like, okay, and folks, get some popcorn and a drink, because it only gets way better. So I'm like, I don't believe this. So I write Rick Doty back and I said, Bean, I was more into Bigfoot in the 70s before I was into UFOs. And, I watched every Bigfoot documentary. I'm a wrestling promoter. I've been involved in TV production for wrestling and whatnot. I know the score, if I could use that vernacular. And I write Doty back and I said, I don't know if you realize this. I don't know if you're that into Bigfoot or know about the phenomenon, but Bruce has a film in his possession. If it's what he says it is, that's worth millions. Well, this obviously gets Doty's attention. Now Rick writes back and says, well, and again, I'm paraphrasing. He writes back like, well, what do you suggest we do? What do you want me to tell Bruce? So I told Rick, let me work on this. I will get back to you the first thing I know something. Give me a couple of days. So I first call I make is to Justin Roberts, formerly the ring announcer of the WWE, and now the ring announcer with AEW, because I have no more contacts that much in wreshling, to ask him if I wanted to put a pay-per-view on, because you only have one shot at this thing. People are going to screenshot their cameras. You have one shot of getting people interested to buying a pay-per-view to watch it the one time, and then it starts, to lose its value, and people will record it on their phone. So I knew this had to be a pay-per-view. I knew for whatever reason, for whatever angle, this had to be shown on pay-per-view. And I asked Justin, do you know anybody you can, because he's neck deep in pro wrestling, do you know anybody you can send me to that would know about pay-per-view, that could walk me through the process of contacting a pay-per-view company, so on and so forth, not really knowing about streaming services, which is what the alien interview is going to go on. Justin puts me in contact with Eric Bischoff, who ran WCW. I used to work with him in AWA. I don't contact him yet, but I got this in the pocket. Now I call Sean West. Sean West is a Hollywood agent. He's my agent, and they call him the agent to the UFO stars. He's the agent to Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, so on and so forth. And I'm like, Sean, are you sitting down? I know Sean for about 6 months now. So can you imagine getting this call from this UFO guy? I said, Sean, you know Rick Doty. He just wrote me. He is claiming that Bruce Maccabee, his friend, maybe of the Avery intelligence person, has a copy of the Patterson-Gimlin film. It's got 6 additional seconds. It shows a juvenile Bigfoot running up to Patty, and there's 2 adult Bigfoots in the background of Patty that they are walking to. Well, you hear Sean's high back leather chair in his office do the like he sits up like I did. Like, what? I'm like, look, let's not get crazy here. I haven't seen it. This is coming from Rick Doty. I don't know Rick Doty that much. He's helping me on the Victor investigation. What's our next move? Sean says, I'll call you back. I get a call in 20 minutes. I hope, folks, this isn't too mundane, but I'm speeding along. I get a call in 20 minutes. Folks, you can believe this or not, but there is a lot crazier things in Hollywood, and there have been way more deals put together quicker than I'm about to tell you. Sean calls me back in 20 minutes, and he says, I got one guy that can go up to 40 million. I'm
Whoa.
like, wait, what?
Whoa.
He said, I've got a guy that's willing to give the 1 to 2 million, capture the film and kick us in, but our threshold is 40 million. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, above 40 million, he keeps the balance. This is now in motion, folks. Whether you are laughing right now, you think I'm nuts, you think my agent's crazy. My agent has two very deep-pocketed money men that can do stuff like this. And he explained to the money person, we're going to put this on pay-per-view. It's a one-shot deal. Yes, we can probably get Amazon or Apple to buy it, or Netflix, and put it in part of a bigger documentary, which would be interesting, and sell it to Netflix. But we have one night, one shot at this. And the money man agreed. And I specifically remember Sean saying, our threshold is 40 million. Sean starts divvying up his end, like a true Hollywood agent. I'm on speakerphone with Sean. My wife is on the couch going, what is my husband? Bigfoot, my husband's end is going to be 36. Or wait, Sean gets 10%. So my husband's end possibly could be 30 million at the high end. I mean, this is how Hollywood sucks you in, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so he goes, Sean said he unequivocally would write a check for $1 million, $1.5 million for this footage right now. But we have to see it in person. Okay. Folks, here you go. I hope you grabbed your popcorn. Here's where it gets interesting. So I said, well, of course, guy's not going to, write a check and have Rick Doty put it in FedEx and here you go. There has to be a chain of custody. There has to be, you have to get Roger Patterson's wife to sign an affidavit that she gave it over to Bruce Maccabee for exchange for work performed. So the chain of command has to be done. Not a big deal, but it has to, my agent is smart. We don't want to get in trouble. And then Bruce Maccabee has to sign over custody of the film. Who does he sign the custody to? If he signs it over to the money man, my company has to be involved in that transaction. And I think this is pretty interesting to your viewers, Jack. I mean, how a Hollywood deal kind of works. And so I'm maneuvering with my agent to make sure I'm on the documentation. So I then email back Rick Doty. And I said, I think I can get you over $1 million. But there's one thing. We've got to be able to have the chain of custody and everybody sign off, make it legal, and we have to see this in person. We have to see this in person. However you want to arrange it, Bruce's house, which I think Rick said was in Ohio. Rick, do you and Bruce want to fly to Los Angeles? Do you want to fly to Chicago, where I live? You tell me where you will let us view the live film of this Bigfoot and the juvenile Bigfoot, and that will start the ball rolling very quickly. And we were going to have the chain of custody in place so that when Rick and Bruce showed up in Chicago or we showed up in Ohio, we could literally make the deal that day or a couple of days after. I mean, I'm dealing with very high efficient producers and agents who, can wrap this up very quickly.
So here comes machine. Yeah.
So a day goes by, 2 days go by. I email Rick. I said, what's going on? I said, I've got people that are, the ball's in motion. He said, well, Bruce doesn't feel comfortable traveling with the footage. I don't blame him. Would you be willing to fly to Lima, Ohio, to Bruce's lawyer's office to view the film at Bruce's lawyer's corporate office in Lima, Ohio, and we could start the process there? What do you think I said? I'm like, sure. I call back Sean. Sean calls the money guy. The money guy tells Sean, look, you go, this is all on you. If it is what it is, we'll get the ball rolling. So it was going to be me, Sean, my lawyer from Chicago, flying to Lima, Ohio to view this footage. So I told Rick, give us a couple of days. Let me handle logistics. You find a day that Bruce and his attorney and Rick flying from Albuquerque would have to meet in the lawyer's office in Lima, Ohio. I know Rick Doty for 2 weeks, folks. Now I'm sitting there in the days leading up to the ghost signal, right? Okay, it's going to be August 15th. And I'm sitting there, and my crazy mind starts thinking, wait a minute. I had just gotten the list of men in the alien interview room watching that crazy film, whether you believe it or not. I said, I just, got all of this information from my contact, who I called the chairman. Is it possible? Now, I contacted Rick before that, but I was in contact with my chairman leaker many months before Rick Doty. But I thought to myself, wait a minute. This is too good to be true, right? The intelligence community wants to, squash what I'm doing. They have Rick Doty, part of the Avery. They have Bruce Maccabee, in intelligence, set up this crazy plot, right? I mean, you've known Rick Doty for 2 weeks. All of a sudden, you're going to make $30 million. The lure, the bait to go to Ohio. And I'm like, I called my investigator, Chris Carmichael. And I'm like, what does this sound like? He said, it sounds like a freaking trap. And he sounds like they've got the hook in you already. He goes, you really think you're going to make $30 million? You really think there's footage out there of a juvenile running up to Patty? He goes, John, this is a honey trap. This is a trap. He goes, you're crazy to go to that. So I write back Rick Doty. I said, can we have something, a snapshot of, what we're about to see in Lima, Ohio? He sends my agent, because my agent and Rick Doty signed a non-disclosure, circumnavigating me, which did not make me happy. So my agent goes, I'm looking at a little fuzzy black Bigfoot hugging a tree. I'm like, my God, I think this is real. Chris Jackson, one of my police officer, is like, you're nuts. This is a plot. They are going to do something to you. John, you have no idea the fire you're dealing with. This is too good to be true. He's right. Too good to be true. They went out. They saw your lure. It wasn't drugs. It was Bigfoot. Oh, you can trap John Stewart with Bigfoot. And they got you. And they came up with this crazy story. And the government is asking Doty and Maccabee to lure you to Lima, Ohio, to assassinate you. I mean, that was said to me.
They told you that you were going to be assassinated.
My investigator one of my investigators, who's a police officer, was was opining of what he thinks is happening here. That Bruce and Rick Doty, again, I'm friends with Rick, so that this was going to be some sort of a plot to kidnap me, to assassinate me, to maybe retain me and to interrogate me to what I know. Anything but something that it's going to be a nice, friendly, oh my God, look at this film, write us a check for $1.5 million and we'll be on our way. And he said, John, don't go. So I spent 3 days contacting security companies in and around Lima, Ohio. One of them, we had about a 20-minute conversation of what we were going to do. They were, folks, I know this is crazy, but I'm here to tell you everything. This security firm, private security firm, was going to put an agent in the terminal I believe we were going to fly into Columbus. Don't quote me on that. Whatever airport was next to Lima, Ohio, they were going to put an investigator, an agent in the terminal. We were going to have a car service with 2 agents, and they were going to post an agent outside of I know it's a movie, outside of the parking lot of Bruce Maccabee's lawyer's office in Lima, Ohio, for like 4 or 5 hours the whole day to see if there was any movements, or there was any suspicious people walking in and out of the building, any unmarked cars, you name it, what could have been set up. And so we put all this into motion. Again, everybody waiting for the ghost signal, when about a week later, Rick Doty calls me and says, Bruce and his wife and their lawyer want to go in a different direction than with your group. They feel that they need to take the offer from a first person that they went to. And I'm sorry, so on and so forth. And I was a little relieved, a little disappointed that, millions were not going to flow into the coffers of Jon Stewart. But, and then I was waiting to see, well, who beat me to the punch? Who's going to put this out on pay-per-view? When is this going to be on Netflix? And to my shock, it never has appeared until these two people. And one of the men, Rick Sasson, is a producer that I'm working with trying to put other alien things on the air. So he never even told me that he knew about this crazy story either. So it's still, I don't know who has it, who bought it, what's going to be done with it, if it's either even legit. But, I can tell you my agent said, hey, I'm looking at a snapshot of a black little furry Bigfoot clinging to a tree.
And so that was the little Bigfoot. That was the juvenile Bigfoot that ran up to Patty.
According to Rick Doty, quote, at the end, when Patty is walking away, where the public film of Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film stops, 6 seconds continue. And as you see Patty walking away, a smaller Bigfoot gets off a log and runs towards her. And you can also make out two other Bigfoots in the distance. I'm just telling you what Rick said in the email. And I did see a snapshot of a fuzzy. I could not make out the face, but I did see a fuzzy something holding a tree like a bear hug. And it wasn't a bear. So that is, when I heard the story come out,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but your agent shared this image with you of this fuzzy, whatever it was.
After the deal fell through.
Do you have that image?
I could send it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Please.
Again,
can I share it?
He claims it's a Bigfoot. I see a fuzzy blob holding a tree, but I don't think it's a bear because I don't see the elbows or, I'm familiar with hunting and I don't know. People might say, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm telling you that I fell off my chair when I yesterday heard that somebody said, yeah, and two Bigfoots are in the background and a juvenile. I went, did they see it? I don't know. I don't know. But I tell you, I pay almost anything to see that footage.
Me too, man. Me too. Yeah. Please send me that picture.
I will.
Is the terrain, does it match the Patty footage? Does it look like it?
Oh, it's from the Patty footage. Oh, yes. The patina. Oh, it's from the Patty footage. Whether it's a Bigfoot, whether it's a bear, whether it's a black stain on the side of the tree, it does look, I don't know. Is that a straw man picture to give us like an hors d'oeuvre so we don't come back, so we don't demand the main course until the money is paid? Does that make sense? I don't know. I mean, this is a movie scenario that I was involved in, but I had to come out in your show, or I offered to come out because again, this alien interview 5 years has been crazy. And I wanted to just tell people that, I think you all ought to know that the story, and from good intentions, Rick didn't do this to be devious. I believe that he believes or saw, this footage and then contacted me. I don't think I was going to be assassinated, but I want to tell people of what my mindset was. And I don't think there's a lot of your viewers that think I'm totally crazy to think that within 2 weeks of meeting a secret agent, that him and another agent of the government are luring me to Ohio with crazy, hyperbolic purposes. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. It makes sense.
It's got everything.
I think a lot of people have, doubts and concerns about Rick Doty.
Right.
And people think that, maybe he's putting false information out there. But I know he's been a friend to you and he's been very helpful to you in your research.
Instrumental. Yeah. It's just, my Chris Jackson kept telling me, he's like, John, if you were into, cocaine, it would be like, oh, he's got a yacht waiting for you, but he goes, they know you're into Bigfoot. You're a businessman, so they Bigfoot and money. What a perfect lure, of course. So I don't think a lot of people of your viewers are going to think that I was totally crazy. That at the worst, an assassination attempt on my life was going to happen, and I'm not saying that in any jest. And at the least, a commandeering, a retention of me personally by the United States government or intel assets of the United States government to find out what else I know about the alien interview and the Victor footage. So, crazy story.
Well, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think that if I had just met, somebody like Rick Doty and I was being lured to another state, that might raise an eyebrow or two. Yeah,
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to see that footage. But you think this footage exists? You don't think it was a honey pot? You think this was a real deal? This footage does exist.
Let me talk like an intelligence agent. And I mean that sincerely. From all the guys that I've spoken to, at the best, there is footage out there of a juvenile Bigfoot going up to Patty, the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot, with two Bigfoots in the background. At the worst, Rick Doty eventually saw firsthand the footage, and maybe it wasn't what Bruce and his wife thought it to be, and Rick backed down. But when you have this new story that just came out a couple of days ago, what's the truth?
Yeah, no,
the truth might be,
that's a corroboration. You are corroborating that other story, or that other story is corroborating your information. Either way, it definitely sounds to me like this footage does exist. This extended cut of the Bigfoot video. And that, of course, leads to troubling implications that maybe that other video exists as well. I hope it doesn't. I don't know if you watched the video that I made. I think you watched at least some of it about that. But there was information from Timothy Alberino's guest about this Bigfoot hunt that happened. He called it a massacre. And that it was all captured on video, and we don't know if that actually.
And is that going to be shown? I mean, are they going to show it?
Yeah. Well, I will be very happy if we can just get the Patty footage with Patty's family. If we can get that,
right,
and hopefully with a happy ending for Patty's family, that would be amazing. I would love it.
Yeah.
If I had $1.5 million, I would definitely, or whatever it is now. I think. It may be more than that now.
Right.
But
right.
We don't have any idea of who bought this footage. Do we know that it was actually purchased?
No, I can't. I believe that's what I heard. But I cannot ascertain what the provenance of the footage is. I do know Bruce died. And whether he sold it before his death, if his wife sold it, if she still has it. I don't know. I would just like to see one of the original Patterson, copies, so to speak. Yeah. This has got to be the first. This is either the original or, so hold on one second. Sorry about that, Jack. You're going to have to, this is either the original or the first copy. And then the other copies were made where that 6 seconds was chopped off. Now, why would Roger Patterson not want to put that in his film, keep that in his film? I don't know. I do know that from seeing that Patterson-Gimlin film, 90 times, and hyper-examining it, that when he gets Patty, he does have a shot very far away of Patty walking up into the woods. And it is far away. So you're not going to see a real big close-up of of a juvenile Bigfoot. But if you're going to see anything, it's going to be far away. I also find it funny that the man that did the $2,500 analysis of the Victor alien interview is Bill Mums. And Bill Mums was hired by National Geographic to do a forensic analysis of what film? The Patterson Bigfoot film. So this is all interesting. This is like some weird ancestral relationship that are, weird story that I got involved in. And, but just crazy. But let's hope something comes of it. And I'm honored that you allowed me to to share my story that I believe Rick and I were the progenitors of that crazy alleged film and the story.
Whether you're the progenitors or not, you are corroborating this information.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think that it's clear now to me that this footage probably exists.
Yes.
Will we ever get to see it? You know, who was that first buyer? Was it the government of the United States? You know,
That's right.
you know, is it sitting in some sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse now, and it will never see the light of day? Or did some investor buy it and it's going to be on pay-per-view next month? You know, who knows? I guess we'll have to stay tuned to find out.
Yeah.
It does seem like there may be another copy of this footage, so maybe we have two chances to get it. We'll see. We'll
Right.
see, man. But thank you so much for sharing your story about how you almost, well, first of all, almost had a windfall, but
Right.
also almost got to share this amazing footage with us years ago, man. I wish that had happened, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but maybe the next Bigfoot footage that comes out, you'll be the one.
Who knows?
Meanwhile, speaking of cool footage, you've got a new documentary coming out soon. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Just it's going to be Thanksgiving night. It's going to be because of Hollywood's craziness. It's going to be on pay-per-view streaming video. So we will be selling tickets. Jack, I hope I can come on in a couple of weeks with the link.
Sure, yeah,
Selling tickets
absolutely.
for it. It's not a lot of money. It's going to be a gatekeeper, which means you can start watching it Thanksgiving night at 7:00 at night. I had to do Thanksgiving night for a couple reasons. And you, Jack, and your viewers are like my friends and family. So I'm big into numerology. And I know 28 is when you do something on the 28, sometimes you have a lot of luck, with financially or whatever you're trying to do. So we thought the 28th would be a perfect date and right before Christmas time. And Thanksgiving has been very special in the pro wrestling world that I was involved with for 20 years. There was always some kind of, big pay-per-view event every Thanksgiving. So I'm trying to keep in the spirit of that also. And I don't expect like this whirlwind documentary. It's going to be more of like a Dr. Phil Oprah in studio conversation with footage and obviously showing the documents, the names of the men, finally the photos of the men in that room, testimony of Nico, who was on your show, testimony of so many other people producing the documents, but most importantly, after 30 years, showing everybody who is Victor. He is still alive. He's a hostile witness at this point. But when I am done with the 7 minutes of showing your viewers, and Jack, you've seen this information, and God bless you for holding tight on it because you can timestamp it. But for your viewers, would be like, Jesus, I can't believe this guy is Victor, and he's not a Hollywood actor. So if you think this ends at my documentary, it doesn't. There has got to be somebody else that's got to take the ball and say, why did this guy, who's not a Hollywood actor, have this, at the very worst, a very elaborate, well done hoax video of an alien? So, but you are going to see the names, the dates, the documents of Project Aquarius, the alien retention and interrogation program. We're going to show the names that have never been shown, and we're going to give you the name of Victor. And I can't be more proud of my team, more proud of the internet.
You're actually going to reveal Victor's name?
Yes.
Okay. That's big.
Totally. I've spoken to him 3 times, emailed him. We're emailing each other with articles that we think each other might find interesting, like an uncle and a nephew. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
So hunting for Victor has become pen paling with Victor.
That's about it. And I have to respect his wishes. But when you see the photo of Victor from the original documentary and a photo of this man, and we overlay it, it's shocking. And we quote him. He says, "Look, it's my doppelganger. He looks just like me. I can't deny it. I just can't tell you I'm this man." So, but it's the backstory and all the other things we found about ufology and the government's involvement in extraterrestrials that the internet people have helped me with, folks. This is going to be earth-shattering. no carrot in the stick. We're going to give it all to you. I hate documentaries all my life that always kept me hanging. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to tell you everything. And that I
Awesome.
promise you.
Awesome, John. I love it. Meanwhile, where can people find you?
Well, just go to huntingvictor.com. You can leave me an email. I hope I can come back in a couple of weeks when the link goes live and we can tell people, that it'll be on huntingvictor.com, the live link to the cast. That's the platform we will be on. That will take, your credit card information. Oh my God. And I've turned into a grifter. I finally started talking about credit cards where we can take your payment information for you to view the documentary on Thanksgiving night. So it'll all come out, in a couple of weeks. And if I could come back on and plug that, I would be grateful.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm happy to support your work. I can't wait to see it. So let's do it in a couple of weeks. And
okay.
Meanwhile, everybody, give John a big thank you and a big shout out for coming on the show and sharing this amazing story about Patty. And Patty's alleged potential family out there. So thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you to all your viewers.
Okay, as promised, here is the image that John sent me of the juvenile Bigfoot, potentially. So what can we see? Well, we can see a little blob here. Is it a bear? Is it a stump? We don't know. But it does appear to me to have legs and arms that are hanging down in a way that a bear, I don't think, would if this were, a bear cub or something like that. So that is what you can see as part of the extended, supposedly, Bigfoot video with Patty going into the trees and being greeted by this juvenile and also two adult Bigfoots. So it's unclear to me how that works exactly. It looks to me like the back is facing the camera, and if it was coming to greet Patty, you would think that it would be face forward. So maybe that's just poor resolution. Maybe it has already said hello to Patty and it's running back to the trees. We just don't know and won't know until we see the full footage. Does that match the Patterson-Gimlin footage? This is a cleaned up version of it. This is the best version we have so far, or at least that I've seen, of Patty doing her Patty amble and going over there into the trees. Now, that would be where the juvenile went to meet her. It seems like she already goes into the trees, but maybe she goes further, and that is where the juvenile greets her. So there are the trees in question, and that is the still image of apparently, supposedly, the juvenile. Could that actually just be a still of Patty? Let's see. Is there a place where that lines up? Let's see. There will be as she's going, or it's going behind one tree, and there will be another tree and kind of a white shape there. There's a white sheep there. There's a solitary tree there. Let's see. No, she's going behind that tree, so that's not it. That's not it because it's at an angle. So, and that's it as far as the trees that we can see. So, and the camera is still moving. And if they ran forward to see more of her, there she's still going. Okay, let's see. All right. Yeah, okay, she is standing in front of a tree right there, I think. Does that match up? Let's see if it matches up. Okay, bear with me. Here we go. All right. Yeah, okay, she's standing in front of, if that's her, she's standing in front of a tree that looks very similar to that image, but not exact. Not exact. So that could indeed be a different being if that's what's going on. So I can't wait to see if this footage does exist, and if we are able to get our eyes on it. So what do you think, guys? Is there a longer cut of the Patterson-Gimlin video? Personally, now that we've got 2 points of corroboration for this story, I'm inclined to believe that this footage does exist. But will we ever get to see it? Who was that first buyer? Are they ever going to show it to us? Well, like I say, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We will find out in the days to come. But let me know what you think about it all, and like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. Share on social media. Buy a t-shirt, buy a coffee mug. See the link below. There's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with the Cosmic Road, signing out.